everyone, and welcome to the New Orleans Pelicans Podcast. Mr. Jim Eichenhofer to my right from Pelicans.com, radio analyst John DeShazier to my left, and Mr. Will Guillory from The Athletic. Jim didn't like that we brought in Brother Martin last time, so we'll just start with The Athletic. It's all fun. It's all fun because you know how it works with New Orleans.
Waterloo, New York High School.
There it is. Now you're part of it. So in the previous episode, we talked about the final 26 games post the NBA All-Star break for the Pelicans, just kind of broadly overall team goals, wins, the importance of winning, and all of that. Let's get into some specifics in terms of players and things that we want to see this year and going into the future. But I guess we just start overall. Is there a player that you kind of are focusing on the last 26 games for you?
I've really been fascinated by Jeremiah Fears' improvement since he got moved to the bench.
Okay.
I think a lot of young guys in that situation where you were spent most of the season as a starter and would kind of feel that, kind of look at that as a demotion being moved to the bench. Obviously, there were reasons why that made sense. That Herb getting healthy, obviously Herb is going to be a huge part of this. But I think it's been impressive to see how much Jeremiah Fears has taken that as an opportunity to kind of show other parts of his game to kind of improve overall. Of course, we know he's so good at getting to the rim. He's so good in the open court. But I think he's really improved as a passer. You're seeing his passing vision really improve over the past couple weeks. I think he's getting just a little steadier as a three-point shooter. He's not great yet, but I think you're seeing that steady improvement. And I think overall, it just feels like he's a little bit more in control, where I feel like as a starting point guard, he was a little out of control at times. And there are times where it felt like he was trying to make something happen, where you go against some of these great point guards and you get a couple buckets on your head and it's like, okay, I got to do something to respond. Right. And I think when he's coming off the bench, he's able to just get more in the flow of the game, focus more on himself, not feel like he has to do something. And I think with Jeremiah, all the time I always say, with him, I want to see him use his great gifts to create for others, where I feel like all the time he's making these outstanding plays like, all right, I made this highlight play, I got to finish at the basket. And I want to see him say, I can use my speed, I can use my agility to create a shot for somebody else. It's not always I've got to create a play for myself. And I want to see him do more of that and be more of a point guard mentality, doing things to have somebody else get the glory at the end.
Yeah, I'm going to go Captain Obvious on this. I want to see Z. At this point, going into the All-Star break, Z had played 30 consecutive games, the longest stretch he'd had in his NBA career, which is, that's another story for another day. But I want to see how his body holds up, obviously, up down the stretch. I want to see how he takes care of himself over the All-Star break, because sometimes we've seen some situations where it was a decent break and maybe Z didn't handle it too well. Mm-hmm. So let's hope that he handles this better. But want to see the durability. But, we always say the best ability is availability. Yeah. He's been available, and that's invaluable for a team that wants to make a jump. You want to build around him. If this team wants to build around him, he's got to be available. He's got to show that he's in, and not just in mouth-wise, but in on the court where it matters the most. His teammates respond to him. They need him because he is such a gravitational pull. He will get dudes shots. There will be opportunities. So I just want to see how he handles this last stretch of the season. It's been encouraging to see him play 30 straight games.
Will mentioned Jeremiah Fears. I'm going to go with the other lottery pick. Derik Queen is fun to watch, period, just in general. One of the most entertaining players on the team, and I'm definitely among the rookies. But I just want to see him over the last 26 games improve defensively, make some steps in some of the different areas of his game, and get to the point where, we understand that there's going to be some games where his minutes are less because of his defense and because Yves Missi and Carlo Makovic have been providing contributions in areas where maybe aren't Derik's forte as a rookie, as a 21-year-old. But just limiting how many times that's the case where, I know fans have talked about this a lot, that we constantly get the tweets of like, why is his minutes down in the second half? Why is he playing less tonight than he has been? And to just reduce those situations where that doesn't happen as much, where he's earning the right to be on the court 30 to 35 minutes pretty much every night the rest of the season. So Derik Queen, I think, is the guy that I am the most looking forward to watching the rest of the season.
I'm going to throw a curveball for you guys. Love to get your opinion on this. Saddiq Bey. And the reason why I say that is because at the beginning of the season, I don't think a lot of us or anybody really thought of his importance. And I know in a recent podcast, John DeShazier said Herb Jones is the team's MVP. I've made the case on the air during games. I'm like, where would this team be without Saddiq Bey? He's settled you in the fourth quarters. He's hit big shots. He's been a consummate pro and professional. He's one of the consistent players that this team has. You know what you're going to get from him. I mean, if you don't have high offensive nights, it's that 1 or 2 buckets that settle a run, or he'll go to the free throw line. He'll make a big play defensively. He's one of the few players, JD, that doesn't mind being physical on a team that hasn't been very physical. So to me, these 26 final games, like, is he a guy where he plays so well where I wasn't even thinking about it, but is he a foundational piece next year for you? Because you were talking about DeJounte Murray coming back. Whose minutes is he taking? If Saddiq Bey is a guy that I need at the end of the games, that changes your thinking. So to me, Saddiq Bey, I think the final 26 will be important.
See, now I thought about him, but and maybe I take him for granted now because I pencil it in and say, okay, Saddiq's going to give me this. I feel comfortable about that. So I move to the next guy and say, okay, what are we going to get here? I've just begun to take him for granted, which is kind of silly because he missed all of last season. But he's shown me enough this season to where I just say, okay, I trust him. I know what he's going to do. Even if he has an awful shooting night, somehow or another he's going to fool around and get 12, 14 points and 5, 6 rebounds. And if he has a night, then he's going to go for 25 to 30 and get you 7, 8 rebounds. So I just feel comfortable with just assuming he's going to be a dude.
Yeah, man. I've been joking with Jim all year. I called Saddiq the face of the franchise. He's a dude who's just been so good this season. It's been crazy. Just like John mentioned, him missing all of last year. Nobody expected anything from him coming over in that Jordan Poole trade. And he's been so big for them. I mean, how many times in the fourth quarter have you looked up and you're like, wait, how many points does Saddiq Bey have? Yeah. And it's like they're calling timeouts and it's Zion on the floor and it's Trey Murphy on the floor. And they're like, no, we're calling the play for Saddiq Bey because we need a bucket and we know what we're getting from this guy. And like you guys have mentioned so often, like when you're trying to build a foundation, when you're trying to pick up the pieces, having a guy where you know exactly what you're getting from him. He's not worried about his shots. He's not worried about getting the glory. He's just out there doing his work night to night. That's something that you can build on, and that's something that everybody else can follow his example. And I think you're exactly right that it feels like he's an older player, but he's only 26 years old.
Right.
So he's a guy who can be a part of your future. You can keep him around for the long term. He's not like you got to get rid of him because he's going to expire sometime soon. So I think it's kind of similar to the Trey Murphy thing where everybody at the trade deadline was like, well, it doesn't fit the timeline. You gotta. It's like, no, this dude is still young.
Yeah.
Like he can still be a part of your young base moving forward. And I think finding Saddiq as a guy who can still be a part of that at a really cheap price, I think is a huge win for them. And he's going to be somebody that's going to be a part of this team for years to come.
I mean, I think it's a huge compliment when you look at a guy like a 12-year vet who's in year 5. Which is the way I think Saddiq Bey is. So I mean, I'm looking forward to watching him. It's I think everyone's just happy for him too to come off the season where he didn't play because of the injury to just be as productive as he's been and consistent as he's been. It's been awesome to see him do what he's done individually.
Yeah. It does feel like he's like a 12-year vet. I mean, but he's a guy you can get your rookies and say, okay, follow him.
Yeah.
Just ask him what he does and do some of what he does.
Yep.
Just follow him and be a pro. Be ready to contribute every night. And if it's not scoring, then you can contribute other ways, but just do what he does. Follow him.
Yeah, and that's why I say he's the MVP. I mean, it's just crazy. You said it, the Poole trade, one guy's playing, one isn't. Mm-hmm. And then when you take a look at what you just said, franchise players, Trey Murphy, guys that have played in dunk and three-point competitions, could be arguably your best player overall on the team. The fact you're saying for those guys to mimic that player who you didn't even know what it was going to give you is pretty amazing. On the other end, a player that's just starting, Jim, let's kind of get into some specifics with some players. Jeremiah Fears. I know Will Guillory kind of touched on him in a recent podcast here as well. What do you want to see from him in the final 26?
I want to see him continue to be as aggressive defensively as he's been lately. It seems like he's really upped that part of his game. And I think assist-to-turnover ratio is also something that I want to see him continue to get better at. His passing has definitely improved. I think his turnovers have gone down. So those are the areas I think, not just the last 26 games of the season, but just going forward in his career, those are going to be huge for him.
Yeah, I think Jim nailed it on the defensive side. Offensively, I want to see him learn to manage his speed and his quickness. I think in San Antonio, Tony Parker had that issue early, and Pop would sit him and cuss him out, and until he learned to manage his speed. Jeremiah Fears can get to the rim, but as Will mentioned, he'll get to the rim. I want to see him be able to create for teammates when he does that too, because finishing at the rim in the NBA is difficult. But he's young, he's athletic. One, you'd like to see him develop his float game, but two, you do want to see him be able to get to the rim, and when he's challenged by those opposing bigs, to find a teammate. Because if the guy rotates off of and helps for you at the rim, then somebody got to be open. Your big's got to be floating around there somewhere. So I want to see him be able to finish in that manner, but also finish at the rim on his own. You see Steph Curry in pre-games shooting these circus shots and these layups, and you're like, what is he doing? And then he'll get in the game and do that, and you're like, oh, okay, that's what he's doing. Yeah. So you want to see him be able to be creative and finish in that fashion, but also want to see him get his teammates involved too.
Yeah, I'm going to go very specific with Jeremiah. I want to see him just continue to get better at creating three-pointers. I think that's something that we've talked about a lot with this team over the years, just the volume of three-pointers they're taking, how the league is evolving, where so many teams are trying to get 40, 50 three-pointers up, and the Pels have kind of been lagging behind. A part of that is your offense is built around a guy who scores the vast majority of his points in the paint. So this team is not going to be like Boston taking 50 three-pointers every night. But you want to see Jeremiah Fears, like I said, using his ability to get into the paint and spraying out for three-pointers, creating those shots for others, because that's when you really get runs going, especially in transition, finding guys at the three-point line. So I think that's something that you really want to see with Fears, is being able to not just get in the paint, but create three-pointers and really increase the volume of three-pointers for this team, because they need to. I think it's just really hard night to night playing some of these teams and all you're doing is shooting twos, because these other teams, they're shooting threes at such a high volume. It's just a math game at the end of the day, and it is tough to win it, especially if you're not getting to the free throw line as much, and if you're struggling with turnovers. You got to be able to make up that math at the three-point line, and Fears, I think, is going to be a big part of that.
Yeah, refining, and I don't know if this is a word or not, professionalizing his game. I guess that's how I would look at it. To your point, refining, knowing when you can or not go, and kicking it out, that's going to alleviate sometimes when he misses those layups, because it's 1-on-3, and Coach Borrego's kind of talked about, hey, go to the easier shot, better decisions. And what I mean by professionalizing his game, understanding, to John's point, working on your game before and after, and then all the way around aspects of it. You have talent, you have skills, but it's understanding, valuing possessions, being a pro, right? In that first and second quarter, making the right decisions is going to help you be in a game-winning situation in that fourth. Understanding, hey, when you have certain games that don't go your way, how you handle those games, because the rest of your teammates see that. So being a pro, that's going to come the more you're in and around and refining it. Derik Queen, the other rookie, you kind of touched on a little bit. Is there something specific you want to see?
Yeah, very specific. I just want to see him take more threes and take more jumpers. If you see the way that other teams are guarding him, he has all this space to work with, and I think earlier in the season he didn't really take advantage of that, but in the really good comeback win against Minnesota, he was 4 for 4 from three-point range, and I think that was just a taste of that.
Well, either I plagiarized or something, because I would say the same thing, or Jim stole my notes. But I mean, yeah, you want to see him develop that shot, because they're disrespecting him, basically.
Yeah.
They're saying, okay, you're self-check. We're not going to guard you until you show me you can make that shot consistently. And they're giving him a lot of space. He's got to be able to make that space shrink for this offense to be better. You got to make people want to guard you. They got to come out and get you. And if they're going to stand, at the restricted area and wait for you, then you gotta force them to pay for that.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think for me, I just want to see more Derik Queen and Zion Williamson having good games at the same time. I think a lot of times this year we're seeing it's either one or the other. I think we've seen whenever Zion's having a big game, it feels like DQ kind of takes a step back. A lot of times he's kind of a onlooker, and I want to see those guys. Again, you're building towards a future where all of these guys are playing well at the same time, and you're winning games, and they're all contributing. So you want to start building on that now. It's not, hey, we need to win games now, so Zion's playing well, we got to put even. Or Derik Queen's playing well, so we got to have shooters out there and not play Zia as much. I think you want to find ways where those two guys can be successful at the same time. And I think you've seen that already with Queen and Trey Murphy, where they've been able to complement each other really well, and all of these lobs that DQ is throwing to Trey. Yeah. But I wanted to see a little bit more of that with DQ and Zion, them working together, them building off of each other, using each other's gravity. There's been some improvement there, but I think I want to see more of it where, again, it's not just one guy having a good game and the other's kind of quiet. I want to see both of them playing really well at the same time.
How about some of the veteran players? You just touched on some of the rookies, what we'd like to see specifically. When we come back, I'll ask the gentleman specifically what do you see from Trey, maybe Herb, Zion, and maybe even Yves Missi as well. We'll do that when we come back as you're watching the New Orleans Pelicans podcast. Welcome back to the New Orleans Pelicans podcast. We touched on Jeremiah Fears and Derik Queen specifically. We'd like to see from them in the final 26 games. Jim, let's start with you. How about some of the veteran players here as well? Let's start with Trey Murphy.
I just want to see him continue to kind of put his stamp on, I'm one of the best scorers in the league. I mean, he's been ranked near the top at a certain point from, January on. So just to continue to show the aggressiveness of saying, like, I'm going to take a ton of shots and I'm going to score 30 points on a regular basis and just to kind of take that next step.
Yeah, and to Jim's point, I want to see him extended. You see great games for him for 4-game stretch, 5-game stretch. Mm-hmm. Can you get it to 8, 9 games like that? Maybe have a dip, then can you do another 7? That's what I want to see him. I want to see him extend it out and be that guy that Jim's talking about.
I just want to see him get him up, man. I've been messing with him all year. I love seeing games where he's taking 10, 12, 15 three-pointers. We talked all Trey's career about the number of three-pointers he's taking. He's such an efficient shooter. Just get him up, man. Just be fearless. Have more of these games where he's hitting 6, 8, 10 threes. That's where he really expands his game, and that's where he becomes super dangerous.
Mine's simple. I want to see him kind of put a staple on. He's the best player in this team. Be a closer. Hit some game-winning shots. Be a guy that can take it to you. And maybe put the league on notice next year. I'm going to push to be a superstar. He has every single ability to do that. We've seen that a little bit. He can drive to the basket. He can shoot the big threes. Now show me you can maybe get that big steal defensively, but close. If you can do that, that'll be interesting. What about Herb?
Herb, I just want to see his three-point percentage kind of come up. I mean, I feel like just finding his spots and finding his rhythm in the offense, I think, will be huge just to get that way up over 30 the way we saw earlier in his career.
I
can't even see that far.
Herb's got it. He's got to be he has been a more efficient three-point shooter. He needs to be a more efficient three-point shooter because you don't want to be playing 4-on-5 when he's on the floor. You got to balance that thing out. And people are looking at Herb now and saying, yeah, he can shoot corner threes, but he shot the ball so poorly this season that he's got to raise that back up and become a factor offensively.
Yeah, I think the other part is early in Herb's career, he was so dynamic in transition. I want to see him do more of that, scoring more in transition, getting more of those layups, those outlets. I think some of that is, he's been dealing with the shoulder injuries. Some of that is not wanting to get to the rim as much, not wanting to take those falls. But I'd love to just see him get out and transition more. This team in general just get out and transition more, and I think he's a big part of that.
Plus, he's hanging back playing a little point too, so might, that might keep him from getting out.
I'm with you. I think the threes are going to be there. Just give me a dozen. I think he can get a dozen. Whether it's steals and getting to. But score. You gotta have. You can't be 5-1-4. I think a lot of times. So I think scoring would help. Zion
has 3 games of 4+ stocks, which is steals plus blocks. Can I get greedy and I want to see him like double that or triple that in the second half of the season? Just his activity on defense, I think, is something I want to see from him regularly.
Yeah, rebound. I mean, you got that big athletic body. Get down there and get grimy and give me 8, 9 rebounds a game. He has that ability, and I want to see it out of him.
And to continue on that theme, I just want to see him just take on the challenge one-on-one a lot more. Just being able to defend guys, get tough, get gritty, just get in the mix. We know he's so great scoring and offensively. Just be willing to do all the dirty work. We want to see more of that.
Maybe I'm hungry, but I'm going a dozen double-doubles. Okay. To your point, there's no reason he can't get 10 rebounds. So give me a dozen double-doubles out of the final 26. Yves Missi.
Yves Missi, just more offense from him. Now, some of this is the responsibility that he was given was much greater last season, but he has 6 games of double-figure scoring this season. He had 33 last season. Obviously, he was a starter. So just see him just kind of go back a little bit to how productive he was at the offensive end as a rookie.
Yeah, he's got to be more productive offensively. You're basically 4-on-5 on offense when he's out there a lot. He'll grab an offensive rebound for you, but he's got to be able to develop, hopefully, some go-to shot, jump hook or drop step and get it up. I mean, he's got to be able to score offensively because he's doing what you want from him defensively, but offensively, he can't be that much of a liability and help you.
I think, in particular, defensive rebounding from Eve. I think we know he's an amazing offensive rebounder. He's so good at getting those tip dunks and stuff like that. You would just want to see him. He's so good at defense, but defensive possession isn't over until you grab that rebound. He's got to be a big part of that. Ending defensive possessions, getting them out in transition. He's got to grab those boards and really allow them to build on what they're doing defensively.
Yeah, my thing's simple. Continue to trust your work. I mean, you saw occasionally, especially in Philly, some of his bag, the jump hook and kind of spinning where it's there. Go ahead and trust it. Go out there and do it. When we come back, we'll put a wrap on this one. General manager hats all the way around when we wrap up this edition of the New Orleans Pelicans podcast next. We've come to the end of this edition of the New Orleans Pelicans podcast, but it's the most important as General Manager Will Guillory now takes on over here.
Here we go.
All right, what do you want to see from your team in the final 26 as a general manager specifically, and what are you looking forward to maybe in the summer?
It's something we talked about a bunch. Is just wanting to see your young guys really grow and improve, showing that they can have winning habits, doing stuff that can help you win games. And I think in particular, looking forward, it's one thing we've talked about for years, just wanting to get more volume three-point shooting on this team, being able to spread the floor, not having to depend so much on Trey Murphy to be your three-point shooter, wanting to get that space for Zion, get that space for Derik Queen. I think you probably need multiple guys coming in who are hitting three-pointers. And I think maybe just one more point guard, obviously not having Jose here. We don't know about the future with DeJounte and Jordan Poole, if those guys are going to be around. Just having more dependable point guard play. Listen, I love Herb Jones as a point guard. I want to get him as much playing time as possible, but I don't know if he's going to be the point guard of the future for this team. And Jeremiah Fears obviously has a great future at the point guard position, but you want to have more ball handlers, more guys who can create shots. So I think number one on the list and probably number two is three-point shooting for this team, but more just guys who can create off the dribble. I think is going to be big as well.
Yeah, three-point shooting is huge. This team needs to alleviate some of that pressure from Zion. You got to be able to spread the floor, because if you can just compact it and put everybody in the lane and guys can't make a shot, then you win. Jeremiah Fears, his stroke looks good. Mm-hmm. So I think he can be a three-point shooter. I don't know if he's going to be a high-volume guy, but he looks like a dude who needs to probably get up 7 or 8 of them a game in order to get the numbers up and the percentages up. So I like him as a three-point shooter. This team obviously needs three-point shooting. And you can never, never, never go wrong with getting a point guard to run this team.
To me, there's so many decisions that need to be made. The talent is here. That's the thing, is like it's not starting from scratch where there's nothing to build around. So now it's a matter of how do you figure out the combinations? How do you figure out the lineups? How do you figure out how much progress some of these younger players are going to make? And then factor that all into what decisions need to be made in the summer. So, I mean, to me, it's really a complex kind of thing. Yeah. And so I'm glad I'm not the one that has to make those decisions. But, I mean, I think there's just a lot of stuff that you have to sort through.
Yeah, mine's real easy. Show me. Show me. You want to be a starter? Show me. You want to play minutes? Show me. You want to coach this team? Show me. You want to be the star? You want to get the contract? Show me. Make it easy for me to make those decisions based on your play, and then we can move forward for that. For the final 26 games, follow Will Guillory over in The Athletic. Of course, John DeShazier will be part of our radio broadcast in Pelicans.com. Mr. Jim Eichenhofer, all kinds of information. So as we all say, the final 26 really do matter actually for this franchise. So pay attention. We'll be with you throughout the rest of the season here as well on the New Orleans Pelicans podcast. Thank you for watching.